In February 1959, 9 experienced hikers set off into the Ural Mountains, but when they failed to return from their trip, a search party found something so strange that it baffled the Soviets and continues to shock us even today. This is the terrifying true story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, and we will try our best to bring you the most accurate and up-to-date account of events, as well as images and video. Some of this footage you have probably seen before, but there are also some rare and never-before-seen pictures included. Viewer discretion is advised for this video, as some of this video may be offensive or disturbing. We, the makers of this video, in no way support or condone the actions of the subjects featured. Hi everyone, it's me. Number 9. The Hikers. On February 1959, 9 experienced hikers left the Vysotsky Geological Institute in the Urals in northwest Russia. Their goal was to climb Otorten, one of the highest peaks in the area. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 42-year-old experienced mountaineer and instructor at the institute. The other 8 hikers were all young men between the ages of 23 and 37. They were all physically fit, having been handpicked by Dyatlov for their fitness and experience. The group had planned to be gone for 2 weeks and would follow a route that took them over Dyatlov Pass, hence the name of the incident. Number 8. The Trek. On their first day, the group skied 11 kilometers through light snow. During the afternoon, the weather became overcast and the temperature dropped to around 18 degrees Celsius. By the time the group made camp that evening, the temperature had fallen to 22 degrees Celsius, which was unusually cold. While they ate dinner, the men discussed the following day's hike. Dyatlov told the group they should push on and reach the pass, though he admitted that conditions were difficult. The group agreed and they went to sleep early to get ready for the next day's hike. Number 7. Strange events at night. At around 2 a.m., one of the hikers, Yuri Krivanashenko, woke up in their tent to find water dripping onto his face. He looked around and saw that there was a hole in the tent near the top. He woke the rest of the group so they could move to a different tent that had not been damaged. One of the tents had been cut open from the inside. Krivanashenko later described the opening as being about 50 centimeters wide, large enough for a man to crawl through. Once they were settled in the new tent, the group tried to go back to sleep, but they were awoken once again around 8 a.m. this time by an unknown sound. Someone was tapping on the outside of the tent, as if trying to get in. Then they heard what sounded like screams in the forest. All of the men were frightened, unsure of what was out there. They huddled together in the tent until the sounds outside the tent slowly faded away. When they finally emerged from the tent, they found that the ground around the tent was damaged, and there were human-like footprints leading away from the camp. However, none of the prints matched any of the men. They decided to pack up and leave, hoping to find shelter at a nearby hut. But when they got there, they found that it had burned down. So the 9 men decided to continue hiking toward the pass. But shortly after, they discovered that there was no trail and they couldn't find their way. They spent the night outside in sub-freezing temperatures without shelter, food, or water. Dyatlov kept telling the men to stay positive, and that help was on the way. But they were all freezing and exhausted. No. 6. The Dead Zone. On the morning of February 2nd, the group was spotted by a passing skier, who said he saw 7 men carrying the unconscious bodies of 2 others. The group had now been without food for 2 days, and were suffering from exhaustion and severe they were all hallucinating at this point. And when they reached a stream, they thought it was flowing with blood, which confirmed their belief that they were in a dead zone. 2 of the men, Zina Kazenko and Yuri Krivanashenko, broke off from the group and decided to go and seek help. They walked for hours until they found a small cottage where a family was chopping wood. When they explained that their friends were dying, the family invited them in to warm up. But unfortunately, they had no food or water. When they refused to accept the couple's offer to stay the night, the couple left and went back to the group. No. 5. More strange discoveries. The group stumbled across another abandoned hut and decided to settle down for the night, though they still hadn't found any food or water. In the morning, the couple returned to the group and informed them that help was on the way. But they were shocked to find that 4 of their friends had vanished and only 3 remained. With no food or water, the group continued to walk until they were eventually spotted by a helicopter. Of the 6 men who had initially been spotted by the skier 2 days earlier, only 3 were left alive. By the time the search team arrived at the scene, they found that Dyatlov and 2 others had frozen to death. They also discovered more strange things, including the fact that Dyatlov's tongue and eyes had been removed. His friend's eyes had also been gouged out. They also found footprints that did not match any of the men. These footprints led from the group's tent to the hut where the group had spent the night before being found. Another thing they found was a stick that had been sharpened to a point. There were also marks on the ice nearby that appeared to be the result of someone dragging something across it. The search team found clothing that didn't belong to anyone in the group, and there were also traces of gasoline. The investigators believed that someone had attempted to bury something on the site, but the frozen ground prevented them from doing so. Number 4. The Cover-Up. All of these strange details surrounding the case caused the Soviet authorities to launch a full investigation. However, the results of the investigation were inconclusive. The official Soviet report claimed that the group had panicked after their tent was destroyed and had cut open the other tent to hide in. The report stated that the group had then run out of food and water and had become disoriented due to exhaustion. It said that they had stripped off their clothing and shoes and had died of exposure. According to the official account, Krivonashenko and Kozenko had wandered away from the group and had gotten lost. They had apparently climbed up a hill and had died sitting in a fetal position. After reading this report, many people believe that the deaths of these men were tragic, but not mysterious. However, several of the men's relatives refused to believe the report. The men's bodies had shown no signs of a struggle, and their clothing was found neatly folded near their bodies. Also, the group had been experienced hikers who had planned their trek well. To add to this, a witness reported seeing a group of 7 men carrying 2 unconscious ones. This would indicate that the group had not panicked and had attempted to carry their injured companions to safety. Several of the men's relatives fought for years to have the case reopened, but it wasn't until 1990 that the Soviet Union fell apart and the case was reopened. Number 3. The new investigation. When forensic experts re-examined the evidence, they found that 2 of the men had died from significant chest injuries. The rest of the men had died from hypothermia. Ballistic analysis revealed that one of the men had been shot. Although the evidence was damning, the investigators still filed the incident under an undetermined cause, claiming that there was insufficient evidence to classify it as murder. However, according to longtime investigator Lev Zolotarev, the bullet that killed one of the men came from an R4 rifle, which was only carried by soldiers in the nearby military base. The military base had been off limits to civilians and hikers, so it was highly unlikely that a soldier would have strayed from the base and accidentally shot one of the men. Plus, there were no records of any soldiers going missing or being reprimanded for shooting a civilian. Number 2. Paranormal theories. After the case was closed with an undetermined cause, many people began to believe that the men had encountered a creature from the woods. Locals spoke of a wild man who lived in the area and attacked hikers. Other people believed that the group had been the victims of a Yeti attack. However, there is no evidence to support either of these theories. Some people even claimed that the group had been attacked by vampires. They cited Dyatlov's missing tongue and eyes as proof of this. However, this theory is also unfounded, as is the theory that the men were the victims of cannibalism. The most popular paranormal theory surrounding the case is that the group was attacked by creatures from another dimension. Proponents of this theory claim that the strange footprints and other strange discoveries on the scene can be attributed to these interdimensional beings. However, there is no evidence to support this theory. Number 1. Still unsolved. The Dyatlov Pass Incident remains unsolved even today, more than 60 years later. Many people still believe that the men were the victims of foul play, while others believe that they simply got lost, ran out of food and water, and froze to death in the wilderness. What do you think really happened? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to stay tuned for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.